All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Maddie here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit fun. We're going to be, talking about all of the new cards that are releasing tonight, or I guess tomorrow at 2 a.m. in the new Crimson Blaze expansion. We're actually going to be talking about them in the context of new decks and new strategies. We have 8 different decks or 7 different decks that I put together for today's video that are going to highlight some of the ways that I think we can use some of the new cards that were announced. Of course, in the trailer a couple of days ago, they did highlight some new cards coming to the game. Some of these are really strong. Not only that, but I think we're going to be getting a ton of new cards when the set actually releases. So this video today is going to be, brainstorming a little bit. It's going to be, building the hype, getting our brains sort of started to understand maybe some ways that we can utilize these new cards. So this is going to be, more of a chill video today. We're just going to be hanging out, kind of doing more speculation, discussion, strategy talk. Maybe you get some really cool ideas so that when the new set comes out and you get some of these new cards, you have an idea of how to play them. So that's what this video is all about. I like to do these before the set releases. Before we get into the deck lists and of course all of the discussions that we're going to have today, we have a lot of cool stuff to share. So the first thing is going to be the PMPT number 13 tournament. The Pocket Mads Pocket Tournament number 13 is this Saturday at noon, December 20th. However, the prize pool has been increased. This is going to be the first tournament that we're hosting in the new Crimson Blaze season. And thanks to some community donations from community members, the prize pool has been extended. So this is going to be a very large tournament in terms of the prize pool. And if we go down here, this is the full breakdown. We have $300 cash in the prize pool, as well as various different chase cards, which we will be trading to you if you, of course, win, or earn prizing at the tournament. So here's the breakdown. First place, $125 cash plus a full art Professor's Research will be going to first place. Second place gets $75 plus a full art Cyrus. So if you're looking to get a second Cyrus or even a first Cyrus, second place is going to get it here. If the first place player doesn't want the Oak, but they want the Cyrus, I'll give them the choice, so they just swap. But in general, that's how we're going to be doing the prizing. Third and fourth place both get $50 cash. So it's going to be a great tournament. I expect it to be a great turnout. It's going to be exciting. New cards will have been released for, 2 or 3 days at this point. So it's going to be exciting. And I really can't wait to see how the new meta evolves. I would highly encourage you guys to go and register. Link down in the description below. And if you need any more information about how to register, go check out the Discord server where we have almost 5,000 active community members. It's a great place to go hang out. Also linked down in the description below. Okay. Lastly, one more thing, by the way, before we get into the actual content of this video, and that is going to be the sponsor of today's video. That's right, we have a sponsor. Let's go check them out. Today's video is sponsored by Magic the Gathering meets Avatar: The Last Airbender. Team Avatar is back. The action, adventure, and spirit of Avatar: The Last Airbender has awakened in Magic the Gathering. Master the new in-game mechanics, earthbending, airbending, waterbending, and firebending to tell your version of the story and discover your favorite Magic playstyle. Check out the link in the description below to dive in and experience this new adventure yourself. Thanks again to Magic the Gathering for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into it. All right, there we go. Big shout out to today's sponsor. Awesome that we got our video sponsored today. Big shout out to them. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So again, if you missed our video like late last week when the trailer was announced, we kind of spent some time talking about these cards specifically and their potential. Now, the way that today's video is going to be a little bit different is going to be, practically using these cards as we know them in the context of the current metagame and building decks and developing strategies around them, right? So that's what it's all about today. We are on PokemonMeta.com. This is a website that I do use from time to time. They're very quick to update their card list and their deck builder with the new cards as soon as they get announced, which is why we're using that website today. Big shout out to PokemonMeta.com as well. Anyway, let's just dive right into it. So the first deck that we're going to be starting with today is going to be about Mega Charizard Y. So let me pull up Mega Charizard Y in case you don't know. This guy is just a big boy. He's got 220 HP and hits for 250 damage. It does 50 damage to itself when it attacks. That's a 4 energy attack cost, but this Pokemon will be able to one-hit KO any other Pokemon in the game, and that does include Mega Pokemon. So out of all of the new Mega Pokemon that are being released in terms of Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, I do think Charizard will likely see the most play. I think that it's a little bit easier to speculate around because we also did get the new Charmeleon announced, which has Ignition, which when we evolve our Charmander into Charmeleon, we're able to attach a fire energy from our energy zone to our active fire Pokemon. This ability is kind of broken. It's not always going to be useful in terms of being able to set up Charizard, just because it's not really something you want in the active spot very often, but it is an incredibly strong Pokemon. Whenever we have cards that generate additional energies, they're extremely useful. Think about this as basically Magnezone, except that it only works one time, and it's only to the active, so and only towards fire Pokemon. So it's a little bit different than Magnezone, but it is a really, really good card. So that is going to be sort of the basis of the decks that we're going to talk about here for Charizard. So this is the first build that we have. It's going to be a little bit zoomed out, so it might be hard to see. There's no real way around that. I apologize, but this deck list here, and the first strategy that we're going to be building is going to be Moltres EX. I think that this is a bit of a throwback, but when you take a look at Moltres, it's actually a pretty strong choice. And the reason I say that is because Charizard does have that 4 energy attack cost. It's sort of steep. Now, the thing about if Charizard does become relevant in the metagame, one of the biggest factors to playing Charizard is going to be forcing your opponent into their Charizard before you're forced into your Charizard, okay? Because either player is going to one KO themselves and win the game. So that's going to be what the mirror match comes down to. I do expect Charizard's going to see a lot of play. And the cool thing about Charmeleon, specifically with that new ability, is not so much to power up itself, but the possibility of powering up a secondary attacking option to maybe deal with things like Oricorio. So cards like Torkoal, I'll pull this up so you can kind of get a better view of it, because I think some people might not know what Torkoal does, but Torkoal has been out for a little bit. It's got 100 HP and does 70 damage for 2 fire energies, and then you discard a fire energy from this Pokemon. So the thing with Torkoal is it can 1 KO Oricorios, and it's got a decent amount of HP. The 2 fire energy attack cost is a little bit steep, but keep in mind, the new Charmeleon is basically able to generate fire energies to Torkoal and allow it to set up a little bit more consistently. Now, in strategies where we're not going up against Oricorio, things like Moltres are going to be very valuable, right? So we can go from a 140 HP stage or basic Pokemon that is worth 2 prizes, and then force our opponent to go through Moltres before they go through Mega Charizard. And that is a lot of HP. Now, Moltres does 70 damage for 3 energies. And you're not going to be able to hit through Oricorio, which is why we have added the Torkoal. But Moltres is going to be able to do 2 things. It's going to be able to use Inferno Dance probably once, at least once, to get some extra energies on our benched Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard to allow it to have enough energies to attack when it comes in. That along with Flame Patch. But the cool thing about Moltres is that it can attack for 70, so it can put some pressure on your opponent's active Pokemon and force them, of course, to have to actually deal with Moltres, right? So we can stay in with Moltres forever if our opponent isn't pressuring us with damage, and that is pretty relevant, right? So I really like Moltres, and I think it has some potential with Charizard. Entei is sort of the other example of that. Entei has the potential to deal more damage, and it draws cards throughout your deck, which is certainly pretty valuable. But in general, I think the 4 energy attack cost for Charizard is going to be a little bit steep, which is why I think Moltres has some potential here. And I think the combo realistically is that as we're evolving our Charmeleons on the bench, we're attaching those energies to our active Moltres, right? So for 1 or 2 turns, we're using Inferno Dance to generate energies to the bench. But once we evolve these Charmeleons, they're going to accelerate energies to Moltres, give it that energy it needs to attack, and then put some actual pressure while it's in the active spot, or Torkoal, whichever one works, right? So I do think that this synergy does work pretty well. And again, I think that Charizard is going to be a little bit difficult, mainly just because unless we have some way to really guarantee a way to generate energies effectively, certain decks are just going to be able to kind of overwhelm us, right? And anything that's not Oricorio, we can reliably go into Charizard and then kind of finish the game, right? There's nothing that we're really too afraid of here. And since we're playing double Charmander, double Charmeleon, and double Copycat, double Research, we have some extra time, especially if we lead Torkoal or Moltres. That this is a little bit more of a slow burn deck, right? And I think we have to definitely utilize Charmeleon because it's an absolutely broken card. We are playing 1 Sabrina in the deck list. This is mainly for those scenarios where our opponent wants to go, 1-1-1 prize trade, and then they maybe are playing double Hydreigon or something. Sabrina definitely will be useful in the sense where it maybe our opponent's forcing us to go through a couple of baby Pokemon. We can actually Sabrina around that. Or if we are playing Oricorio, we can target like a Magnezone or something. So there's some scenarios. I don't think you need Cyrus. I don't think you need Red or Rocky Helmet or Giant Cape or any of those things if you're playing Charizard, but I do think 1 Sabrina is worthwhile. And I am playing one copy of Leaf, and just in case we really need to press the issue, or we lead Torkoal and we can just, potentially go, or if we lead Moltres and we want to just go like turn 2 Charizard, if we get lucky on an Inferno Dance, then we can go ahead and do that. So I like the one Leaf in the deck. It's not really needed. And then Moltres, of course, Mars, just because Mars is definitely pretty strong, I think, still in the metagame, and it's kind of worth running. You could play red card in place of this. Double Pokeball, double Research, double Copycat, plenty of consistency here. We're not playing the new Serena. I don't think it's really necessary for a deck list like this. We're oftentimes just going to be drawing the Pokemon we need anyway. It's a bit of a slow burn type deck. It's sort of my initial, very basic way to play Charizard. And again, I think that the Charmeleon has good synergy with Moltres. The next one, in terms of the version of Charizard, is going to be something just a little bit more spicy. Again, it's pretty likely, in fact, that Charizard just sees play like with Heatran, just like we see right now with Blaziken, which is totally fine. I think that strategy is good. The bench damage is good. So, we could just be playing Charizard just like we play Blaziken now. So that's a little bit easier to envision. However, this Oricorio here, this fire type Oricorio is kind of broken, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to play it, since again it does have some pretty good synergy with Charmeleon and the extra energies that Charmeleon can generate. So Oricorio, 70 HP, just like the Oricorio we all know, the lightning type one. It has the attack Kindle, which only does 40 damage for double fire energies. However, you discard a random energy from both active Pokemon. So this is a bit of a control strategy, and again, it can be really useful in the scenario of getting this thing up and running on your second turn pretty consistently, mostly just because of Charmeleon's ability to ignite or use the ignition ability to get those 2 energies on Oricorio. So these double energy attacking options like Torkoal, like Oricorio, are going to be a little bit more consistent with that extra energy coming into play with Charmeleon. I think that's definitely pretty underrated. When we were playing things like Heatran or Blaziken, we were kind of dependent on that 1 energy attack cost, so it wasn't too big of an impact. I think because of Charmeleon, we were able to open up those opportunities and open up, I guess, the possibilities of Pokemon that we can pair with Mega Charizard. This Oricorio is kind of cool, and it's going to shut down a lot of strategies, right? You got to think about, playing against like Suicune, who likes to just sort of attach energies manually to Suicune and then go from there, right? While they kind of set up a bench to, whatever it is, Greninja. So what Oricorio is going to do is basically stop your opponent from ever being able to commit energies to the active, unless, of course, it's like a baby Pokemon. But Shingling against Charizard's not going to be that relevant because we're not really running rare candies. We're playing middle evolution. So Oricorio is going to be pretty cool in that sense, and it will inevitably force your opponent to just kind of give up their active Pokemon because they're never going to be able to get enough energies on their active to attack us back, which is kind of funny. So Oricorio can take a couple of prize cards pretty easily. You could pair it with things like Team Rocket Grunt, but I don't think we have enough space in the deck list here. So double Oricorio, double Charmander, Charmeleon, and Mega Charizard. This deck list is playing 1 Repel and 1 Sabrina. Again, if your opponent does decide to attach energies to that bench Pokemon, we can Sabrina them, we can repel them into that bench Pokemon with the energy, and then choose to discard it, right? So that's part of the strategy here. We are playing 1 Serena and 1 Copycat. This is just sort of an opportunity maybe to play Serena in the deck list. Again, I don't really know if it's that necessary. We are playing 1 Serena, 1 May, and 1 Copycat. These are all really useful cards. It's going to take some time, I think, in this new season to get an idea of where and when we really want to play these supporter cards, because they are kind of all useful and they're all kind of similar, right? As we saw in the metagame right now, it's a little bit more often that we see Copycat instead of May. And the main reason for that is most of these evolution decks are playing rare candy. However, again, I think that Charizard is a bit more reliant now on utilizing Charmeleon, and because we are running middle evolutions, I think May might be a little bit more useful than Copycat. However, I understand Magnezone right now plays Copycat, or the Magnezone or Oricorio deck plays Copycat and doesn't play May, but I do think May is going to be useful in general. So I just wanted to kind of include it to the deck. Now, if you don't know what Serena does, Serena is a new card coming out that searches your deck for a Mega Evolution EX Pokemon. So it's a way to guarantee your Mega out, which is pretty nice, and I actually do like it. I don't know if it's always going to be that useful. It might not even be worth running as opposed to things like May or Copycat, which are in general a little bit more useful. You play 1 card to pull 1 card out of your deck, so it's not like inherent card advantage, which is typically a bigger deal than just targeted search. However, there might be some scenarios where Serena is going to be useful. So this is just sort of a fun, control version of Charizard that I kind of liked. And again, I think that this is one of the few times where we can really utilize those 2 energy attacking options, whereas in other fire type decks, we really didn't have that ability. ability. Plus we have Flame Patch, right? So if, you know, if these Oricorios get KO'd too early, it's really not that big of a deal. We're always generating energies into the discard pile. So by the time Charizard comes into play, maybe we Flame Patch once or twice to get that 4 energies onto Charizard, right? So it is definitely possible. And I think for this Charizard, because it's 4 energies, it's always worth it to play multi copies of Flame Patch, just because we don't know how quickly we're going to get pressed into the active spot. Plus, if we lead Charmander, we're going to want to just manually retreat and then conserve that energy, right? So Flame Patch, I think, is definitely a worthwhile card in Charizard specifically, and I would typically play 2 copies of it. One thing I did want to do, actually, if we can go to, where is this, cards? I want to go to, like, I want to do it like a search here. Because if we just go, like, let's just say fire, and we'll say basic, and then I want, like, energy attack cost, right? Where can we do this attack cost? So, like, I want to do, like, two costs here. And then I want to do fire. So can we filter by this? Oh, that didn't work. Oh, because I did minimum. Here, I want to fix this real quick. I want to do an advanced search. So if we do min max equal to, or yeah, equal to fire, to fire. Does this not work? I don't know how to use this filter. Anyway, well, I'm curious about other 2 energy attackers basically for the fire type. So I don't know exactly how to use this advanced search. I got to figure this out. Maximum of 2. So less than or equal to. Does this work? Okay, I might not be able to filter it, but like we'll look at some scenarios, right? We have this Heat Rotom, which is probably not that good, but that is an option, right? 2 energies in the attack cost. If we keep scrolling down here, these are all basic Pokemon with at least, I think, 2 energies in their attack cost. Maybe there's not that many of them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's just not. Maybe I'm not using the filter correctly. I don't really know, okay? I apologize. Anyway, I was just curious, but there's definitely some probably other options, like this Magmar that has 2 energies in its attack cost. Like, this Magmar here as well, so you can discard 2 energies for 80. So there's, in the Torkoal, as we saw earlier, there's definitely, or even Heatran, like Heatran is an interesting option, right? So there's a lot more opportunities to run like leadoff options that have multi-energy attack costs than we had previously, mainly just because of Charmeleon. That's kind of the point I'm trying to get at. Even this Heatmore right here with Roasting Heat, 30 plus if your opponent's active Pokemon is burned, it does 60 more damage. Not that we're playing burned, but you know, it could be kind of interesting. So there's just a lot more opportunities to play certain Pokemon in this deck list that we didn't necessarily have the ability to do with Blaziken very consistently. Even Shell Trap, Turtonator, right? There's more opportunities because Charmeleon is generating additional energy. So anyway, that's just that version of Charizard. I went on a bit of a tangent there. I apologize. Next up, let's go into Venusaur, because I think there's a couple of ways we can play Venusaur, and I really do like it. The thing about Venusaur, excuse me, that's a little bit different, is going to be its attack cost, which is 4 energies, but 2 of them are colorless. And this opens up kind of a lot of different things for us. We also get access to the new item card, the Quick Growth Extract, but Mega Venusaur, 240 HP, does 120, and it actually poisons and puts your opponent to sleep. So there's a 50-50 chance they can't even attack you after you attack them, and the poison is actually going to make you hit for 130. So it's pretty cool. This is a really cool Pokemon. Again, the major downside to Venusaur and Blastoise, realistically, is going to be Charizard, and the fact that Charizard will one-hit KO you. So you got to be a little bit careful there. Theoretically speaking, Mega Venusaur can flip a coin, put Charizard to sleep, and then, you know, save itself and then attack again to KO. So it has the potential to do that. In fact, I think Mega Venusaur is going to be really strong into other Mega Pokemon, just potentially, you know, flipping a coin to 2-hit KO and win the game. So I think Mega Venusaur is really strong. It also has a ton of HP, but there's multiple ways we can play it, again, because of that 2 colorless energy in the attack cost. So we are getting a new Bulbasaur. So it's got, I don't know, it does 20 damage for like 1 energy. But the Quick Growth Extract is interesting. The more I've thought about this card here, this new item card, the more I really do think it's actually quite good. You choose one of your grass Pokemon in play and then put a random Pokemon that evolves from that Pokemon onto it from evolve from like your deck, right? So it's basically a way to have always like the Pokemon you need to evolve, even if it's not the right Pokemon. And this actually is incredibly consistent when it comes to you know, always having that Pokemon. And we're gonna showcase some like multiple different decks that utilize this item card, but I do think that this is absolutely insane. Like, this really is going to give a lot of different grass type decks a ton of consistency. Really, the only grass deck we see in the meta right now is Decidueye, which I do think will benefit from Quick Growth Extract, but I don't think anything else about the deck will change. So anyway, here is like my first example of Venusaur, which I do want to play, which is a little bit all over the place here, which is going to be Oricorio and Venusaur. So we can utilize Pichu, right? Not only to set up Oricorio, this is a deck that would be playing only grass energies, just like there's like the Altaria deck does right now, right? The Dragon Arcana deck. So we would be playing only grass energies, but we can still attach those lightning energies to our Bulbasaurs to then utilize that extra energy to attack with Venusaur late in the game with the colorless energy in their attack cost, or we can set up Oricorio and then do Oricorio stuff and just manually attach grass energies to Venusaur for a couple of turns. We're playing one copy of Chingling because why not? We kind of want to lead off with anything that's not Bulbasaur, and then we're also only playing one copy of Bulbasaur, one copy of Ivysaur, and one copy of Venusaur. And the reason we're doing that is because we can just play double Quick Growth Extract. So this was one of the things I realized kind of early about Quick Growth Extract specifically, is that you can play 1/1/1 lineups of grass Pokemon without having really any impact to your deck list. And the main reason for that is because Bulbasaur is not really something we want in the active spot. Neither is Ivysaur. The other thing you have to keep in mind here, though, and again, I'm just rattling off a bunch of info. This is a video where we're going to be all over the place. Hopefully you guys just enjoy this type of video, but Charmeleon has a broken ability, right? The Ignition Charmeleon. I am predicting that Ivysaur and Wartortle will also have strong abilities. Maybe they're the exact same ability. Maybe they're strong, but maybe a little bit different. I think Ivysaur and Wartortle, we are getting new versions of them, and they also will have abilities. So keep that in mind. This Ivysaur will likely be replaced by a new Ivysaur, hopefully with a good ability. But in general, the entire concept of this deck is that we're leading with either Oricorio, Chingling, or Pichu's, hopefully most of the time. Celebi is here as that kind of countermeasure option against like other evolution Pokemon that might be a little bit more fast-paced, right? Things like Altaria, things like Charizard, things like Blaziken, things that are already in the metagame, right? Like Celebi is going to be able to get around those. It's actually kind of funny that Celebi can devolve a Charizard and then basically just sort of win the game. I really like that. So we are playing Celebi in the deck. It only does 40 damage, so it's not going to be like super consistent in terms of taking KOs unless we're also playing red with it. But it's really just a way to sort of counteract that. I think Chingling is going to be less useful because Charizard probably won't be playing rare candies, but it is still a really, really good card, so I think it's worth playing Chingling. So that's what this deck's all about. Again, only one copy of Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur, but that's totally fine because as long as we have at least one Quick Growth Extract in our hand to play it, then we're going to be able to guarantee that we're evolving, because the only evolution grass Pokemon in our deck are the one Ivysaur and the one Venusaur. So it's a really fun way to actually have a ton of consistency while only playing a 1/1/1 lineup of a stage 2 Pokemon. It's something that we've never actually been able to do before in Pokemon Pocket, so I wanted to build this deck around that actual facet of Quick Growth Extract, because it is an inherent advantage, right? And you could do this with any grass Pokemon that's an evolution Pokemon. There's other versions of how to utilize this new item card, but this is just one of the ways that I thought of, right? Is sort of playing only 3 Pokemon in the deck without sacrificing really that much consistency other than finding Bulbasaur off of Pokeball. But we are getting around that because we're playing one copy of Lycia, right? Why not? Because we're playing 3 Pokemon with 50 HP or less, triple baby Pokemon. So why not play Lycia to pull those Pokemon out of the deck and make our Pokeballs a little bit more consistent to find things like Bulbasaur or Oricorio or Celebi. So that's how we're building this deck list. We are playing double Lily, so the whole concept of this deck is to go into Venusaur eventually. It is the only Pokemon that is going to guarantee win conditions in a lot of scenarios, so that's why we're playing double Lily and one Leaf Cape, is to eventually attach those to our Venusaur and then just sort of sweep through our opponent that way. That is kind of the whole hope here. Mars pairs well with baby Pokemon, one Copycat, double Research, double Pokeball. Kind of a unique, fun way to play Venusaur in my mind. I'm actually really excited about Venusaur, but I'm also just excited about Quick Growth Extract, and we have another version of this deck, or another version of a grass deck playing this new item card later in this video that we will showcase. But I think Venusaur has some potential. I really do. We've seen how strong the sleep coin flip effect is in the metagame right now via things like Swablu in Altaria. It does win you games sometimes, so you got to keep that in mind. Except now, instead of having a 50 HP Pokemon with a coin flip, now we have a 240 HP Pokemon with a coin flip. If you're not playing Charizard, if Mega Venusaur comes onto the field, the game is kind of over. Like, you got to think about the other decks in the metagame right now. A Leaf Cape Venusaur with Lily, you're not even going to be able to 2-hit KO it most of the time, and then half the time you're not even gonna be able to attack twice in a row. So other than Charizard one-hit KOing Venusaur, I actually think it's insanely strong, and I think it's very, very broken. Again, everyone's gonna be playing Charizard, so you gotta be a little bit careful here about Venusaur, but again, maybe Celebi, maybe Oricorio was able to help you there, right? So I think that's sort of the saving grace for Venusaur, is that you have Celebi and you can play Oricorio with it. So we'll see how it goes, but sort of my first idea of playing Venusaur. The next version of Venusaur is going to be maybe what some people are thinking of, which is just like maximum tankiness Venusaur, which is going to be with Lilligant. The Lilligant from B1, which increases the HP of all grass Pokemon on your board by 20, is quite strong, right? So that's what everybody was kind of memeing on with Venusaur. It was like, listen, you can Leaf Cape, go to 270, have double Lilligant. All of a sudden, we have 310 HP, and that's kind of crazy. The other cool thing about playing Lilligant is that it deals with Oricorio extremely easily. So we're not playing Oricorio in this deck, but we are, of course, playing Lilligant to just KO Oricorios and tank hits, right? A Lilligant with a Leaf Cape, and then if you have two Lilligants in play, has like 130 HP. With Erica, it's able to live for a very long time. So that's the idea here. However, the downside about this deck list is the energy requirement. There's just not a real great way for us to generate energies while playing all of these Pokemon in the deck list. The way I got around that a little bit, though, is playing double Quick Growth Extract with no Ivysaurs in the deck list. So again, maybe Ivysaur doesn't have a broken ability. Maybe it does. We don't know yet. We have to wait and see. In that event, you could maybe cut the rare candies for the Ivysaurs, and maybe it's worth running, right? So keep that in mind. The reason I'm running rare candies and then Lilligant is to guarantee that the quick growth extracts are always going to pull the Lilligants out of the deck, and they're never actually going to pull Venusaur out of the deck. And then we're just going to hopefully draw into our Venusaurs otherwise. Like, that's the whole strategy with this deck list. It might not be that good of a strategy. Maybe we are going to be reliant on Ivysaur because hopefully it does have a strong ability. But that's the whole concept here. A very simple deck list. Again, we just don't know. Like, people are going to comment in the comment section. They're going to be like, what's the point of this video if we don't have all of the cards and we don't have all of the context? You can sort of begin the thought process, right? Even without seeing the full set. This is just sort of a preemptive exploration of the ideas that, I have and ideas that might be helpful for people to get a head start on the metagame. You got to keep in mind the ranked season is going to come out shortly after Crimson Blaze comes out. So all of these strategies here, we're going to be refining once the set releases, but it's good to have an idea before we go into it. So I do think the Lilligant Venusaur stuff is funny, and theoretically, it is a way to live a hit from Charizard, right? So if you're not playing Oricorio, and again, trust me, people will be playing Charizard. If you're not playing Oricorio, then you're going to be a bit reliant on Lilligants and Leaf Capes to live a hit from Charizard. So that's kind of the whole deal here. Yeah, we'll see what Ivysaur does. Again, this is just sort of a quick build. Maybe we cut the rare candies for Ivysaur. Maybe it generates energies. Who knows? That would be ideal, but I do like Lilligant with Leaf Cape and Erica's. It's a very tanky way to play Venusaur. And again, keep in mind, things like Suicune Greninja and like a lot of other decks in the metagame are just going to struggle. Like, imagine a Hydreigon comes in and hits you for 130, and you just laugh at him. You just heal for 50, and then you put him asleep. Actually, you're just going to one-hit KO him. I think he's weak to grass, which is hilarious. So you're going to like one-hit KO Hydreigon. You're going to take 130 damage, but you don't care because you got 310 HP, and you have Erica's in your deck list. So a Mega Absol, think about Mega Absol going up against a Mega Venusaur. It's literally GG, and I think that's hilarious. I do. I think Venusaur is broken. Again, the energy stuff is going to be a little bit scary. Maybe we're going to be reliant on baby Pokemon, or maybe Ivysaur has that ability. Who knows? But the double color list does open up a lot of things. It's very underrated. I think people don't necessarily realize how much better an attack cost is when it does have colorless energy in its attack cost, which is pretty cool. But again, I do expect Ivysaur to have some type of an ability. Next up, though, let's talk about Blastoise. This is the card to me that I'm just not... I don't understand it. I don't have the full development of my plan around Blastoise, because to me, this does seem like another card that was built around a lot of the previously existing energy acceleration options that Water type has available to it right now, which there's a lot. And I think that's the whole idea with Blastoise is, we do 130 for 3 energies. Sure, why not? We are a big boy. It's big man Blastoise. 230 HP is a lot. But if we have 3 extra water energies attached, which is 6 total energies, then not only are we doing 130 to the active, but we can target 2 bench Pokemon and deal 50 damage to them, which bench damage is really strong. Now, again, how are we getting 6 energies on Blastoise? I don't really find any super consistent way to do that, so let's just build our deck around holistically being able to do this, right? So this is going to be the one example where we're playing the non-EX version of the EX Mega Pokemon, particularly just because, you know, if we're playing Mega Blastoise, we have to invest in things like Mantike and Manaphy and Misty, which are all in this deck list, which are all energy accelerating options, but we just don't have an option really to deal with Oricorio, right? Which is why we are going to be sacrificing any of these sort of those basic attackers like Torkoal and Charizard and things like that, or Celebi, whatever. We're just going to be playing Blastoise, the non-EX Blastoise, which can deal with Oricorio theoretically. So that's the whole idea here. You know, we are actually going to utilize Serena here because we're only playing one copy of Mega Blastoise, one copy of non-Mega Blastoise. So Serena will be able to pull specifically the Mega out of our deck list. We are playing double Copycat with double War Turtle. Actually, this deck is only playing one War Turtle, so keep that in mind. One War Turtle, one Rare Candy. And again, if War Turtle has a broken ability, then maybe we cut the Rare Candy for the War Turtle. So I'm kind of hedging my bets here because we don't know. That's only my guess, but again, I've said it before, I do expect Ivysaur War Turtle to also have abilities that are akin to Charmeleon's. But keep in mind, maybe we cut the Rare Candy for the War Turtle, but I figure Rare Candy might not be that bad, right? Because Blastoise only has a 3 energy attack cost. Maybe we go Mantike into Misty into turn 2, 3, 4 energies, and we can just attack with these Blastoise on our second turn. So it is a bit of a high roll strategy. War Turtle might have a broken ability, but if we're already playing like Mantike, Manaphy, and Misty, then honestly, maybe we just sort of play Rare Candies, and this might be an actual strategy, which is just high roll. Right? Because if Blastoise comes out early enough, just like Gyarados, it's not going to be that bad. And the thing with Gyarados Mega is that it's got 4 energies in its attack cost, which is very different than 3, to be fair. Because with 3 energies and Mantike, all we need is really only 1 coin flip off Misty. Especially if we're going first, we get 2 chances to do that if we can draw into Misty. So it's actually quite a bit easier to get 3 energies onto Blastoise than it is to get 4. And with Rare Candy, we were able to just pop off and then evolve basically as if we were a stage 1 Pokemon like Gyarados is. And we have more HP. So, you know, I do like Blastoise. I am also playing a Lycia in this deck list just because, you know, Manaphy and Mantike also are 50 HP or less. Double Misty, Serena, 2 of the new Serena, 1 Cyrus. So, you know, again, are we really going to be oftentimes getting the 6 energies onto Blastoise to do the bench damage? I don't know. If we are, Cyrus will come in handy for sure. I'm not a big believer in Blastoise personally, but this was kind of my only thought realistically with Blastoise, which is like, you know what? I doubt they're going to give us like any crazy secret sauce to water types, because then it would affect all of the other water type archetypes, and I just don't really see them doing that. If they do give us some more water type energy acceleration support, it will likely come in the form of War Turtle, which might change around our strategy in the way that we're playing Mega Blastoise. But for right now, honestly, I bet it's kind of just high roll. We're playing Misty, we're playing Mantike. We're just hoping to dump a bunch of energies onto Blastoise. Theoretically, I think you can live an attack from Charizard if we have Heavy Helmet or Giant Cape and then 1 copy of Blue, but we're not banking on that. Trust me, that's not the strategy here. The strategy isn't to you know, live in a hit from Charizard. Like, I don't think Blastoise is ever going to really beat Charizard. Again, unless you pop off with like Misty coin flips or whatever. There's inevitably going to be some people that do go Rare Candy, turn 2 Blastoise, and flip like 7 heads with Misties. And that's going to be hilarious because the game's going to be over because Blastoise is incredibly strong. When it has 6 energies attached, it's going to be difficult, man, to get 6 energies on a Blastoise. Trust me. Maybe War Turtle is insane. Who knows? I don't know. We just don't know yet. But anyway, that's sort of my only conception with Blastoise. You could play the new Jellicent. I don't think Jellicent is like that good, and also it's not very good into Oricorio either. So those are my thoughts about Blastoise. Honestly, I don't have a lot for you guys here. Comment down below if you have any sort of suggestions or ideas about playing Blastoise. But to be fair, I think we're just playing full energy acceleration and hope maybe it goes our way. Not something that I think is going to necessarily be that consistent or that strong into the current metagame environment. That's my opinion. I could be wrong about it. I don't know, but I mean, Suicune exists. So what happens oftentimes in Pokemon Pocket is that, you know, even if decks function very differently, there's really only room for like 1 or 2, you know, meta strategies per type, right? Because if a deck is also a water type deck and it's just sort of better, then why would you play the other water type deck that's worse, right? And I think that's potentially the best deck in the game right now, being Suicune, does kind of make things a little bit tough for Blastoise, because at the end of the day, it's like, why would I be playing Blastoise if I could play Suicune Greninja? You know, that's the inherent reality of the water type right now, is that it is the strongest type in the game because it has some of the strongest Pokemon. But this strategy here is not very in line with what that strategy is of Suicune and Greninja. So I suspect people will likely still play Suicune and Greninja. However, That might not actually be the case, considering that we are getting support for Magnezone, which is crazy. So let's break this down right here, because this is going to be sort of an updated version of Magnezone, which we have a couple of things to talk about in regards to Magnezone. So we are definitely going to be getting a new Magnezone card. If you look in the art here, there is a Magnezone somewhere in the background. It's right here. It's hard to see. I don't know if the official art's anywhere else, but in this official artwork and in the trailer, there's a Magnezone flying around in the background right here, which guarantees that we are going to be getting a new Magnezone card. Now, is that a Magnezone EX? Is it a lightning type Magnezone? Is it not? Who knows? Nobody knows. However, we do know about Clement, which is an absolutely insane card for the future viability of Magnezone, which, keep in mind, is one of the only tournaments, or only one of the only decks that won multiple tournaments of our community tournaments this past season. So Magnezone Oricorio was a top archetype this past season. It had about a 52% win rate into Suicune Greninja. However, we're getting the new Clement, which is a direct sort of buff to this particular strategy, regardless of what the new Magnezone looks like. Put 2 random cards from among Magneton, Heliolisk, and Clement's backpack from your deck to your hand. Now, okay, we don't know what Clement's backpack is, but we do know what Magneton is. And, the one thing about Magneton, most certainly, is that it is a broken card, and being able to search your deck for Magnetons is going to mean this deck is that much more consistent. Now, the deck right now, currently in the metagame, is playing 2 copies of Copycat, Double Research. So that's the consistency for this deck list here. But being able to search your deck for Magnetons, potentially double Magneton, is absolutely insane. I still think it's going to be worth to play Oricorio here. But yeah, the Magneton search is broken. We don't know what Clement's backpack is. Maybe it's a broken tool card or item card. We also don't know. We're kind of waiting to see what that card is, but maybe it also has a spot in this deck list. One thing you might be curious about taking a look at this list is the Zapdos. Now, keep in mind, I have made the assumption that Magnezone coming is going to be a lightning type Magnezone EX. That's not guaranteed, but that's my assumption. So just swap out this Zapdos for the unreleased Magnezone. I think no matter what, it's probably going to be worth running 3 Magnezones just for overall deck consistency. But the 2 prizers there might make the deck a little bit suspect. Either way, I think Magnezone will likely probably be EX. It's probably going to be lightning type. That's my hope. So just replace Zapdos with this new Magnezone that's coming out. And then we are adding 2 Clements. We did cut a Copycat from the deck. I just don't want to go too heavy on supports. You could take out the Lily. Again, Magnezone is a stage 2 Pokemon, so if it has like 170 or 180 HP, it might be worth playing Giant Cape and Lily in the deck list to keep that Magnezone alive for an additional turn. Who knows? I don't know yet. We'll have to see. Again, all kind of speculation, but 1 Copycat, double Clement, double Research, double Pokeball, 1 Cape, 1 Cyrus. You could cut the Cyrus. I still like red card with Copycat. But yeah, and I think that's sort of what this deck's just going to look like. I think, maybe some of these other cards get changed, but we're probably going to slot in at least 1 Clement, maybe 2. I don't know. We'll have to see how strong, it is once it comes to the game. And then we're likely going to just sort of cut 1 card from the deck that exists currently for a Magnezone EX, if that is, of course, what we're getting. And maybe it's not. I would be actually disappointed if we didn't get a Magnezone EX, considering that we got a Greninja EX for whatever the reason. So just give us Magnezone EX. I do think that would buff the archetype. Hopefully it does like 140 damage so it can just KO Suicunes. I don't know. Yeah, that's really it. I think that this deck is going to remain extremely relevant. It'll likely be kind of the #1 way to play Oricorio moving forward. Maybe not, but I do think it's still going to be really strong. Oricorio is going to be extremely relevant in the metagame, especially in the face of Charizard EX. Because the thing about Charizard is that it doesn't burn, and it deals damage to itself. So realistically, the only way Charizard's going to be able to get around Oricorio is by playing something that can KO Oricorio, because there's no burn damage. You're not going to play Rocky Helmets or anything like that. Not like Blaziken does. So it's going to be a different story for Charizard. So keep that in mind. Oricorio probably going to look to be really strong next season. And Magnezone Oricorio already strong this season. Why not play an upgraded version? Hopefully Clement's, or the new Clement supporter card's really good. And hopefully we get a Magnezone EX, which makes this deck even better. That's sort of me hoping and praying. Just a guess here. It's on my bingo sheet. Yeah. Also, keep in mind, I forgot to mention this earlier on, but tonight, for the release of Crimson Blaze, we will be live on YouTube and on Twitch. So if you guys want to tune in, I'll be go live at like midnight Eastern time for a couple hours until the set releases. And I'll do like a full set review once the data mines and the leak comes out. I'll upload that video probably later tonight. And then of course we'll do like a max pack opening, and then we get right into the meta analysis on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So keep in mind, we're live tonight. Come and and hang out on the live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. But anyway, yeah, Magnezone's getting buffed, and this is really all I would kind of do for the deck is I would maybe cut 2 cards, add a Clement, and add a Magnezone EX if it does come. And that's all you really need. The rest of the deck is really consistent. Maybe we keep the double Copycat. Maybe we do. Copycat's broken. But if we're seeing less Suicune, then Copycat's really less needed. You know what I mean? If the deck gets stronger into Suicune other ways, then maybe we don't need Copycat. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The last deck we're going to talk about today is something that is not necessarily maybe on everybody's radar, but is really fun. Now, this is going to be an aggro grass deck based around the new Quick Growth Extract. And here we go. This is going to be Sunflora and Exeggutor with 1 Celebi. I absolutely am super excited by the possibility that Exeggutor EX, one of the OG GOATs in Pokemon Pocket, has the potential to come back and be extremely relevant. Keep in mind here, imagine guaranteeing turn 2 Exeggutor. Imagine just guaranteeing that. Now, the thing about Exeggutor is that, well, you know, maybe we want to play something that's not Exeggutor. Who knows, right? What about Oricorio? Exeggutor can't deal with Oricorio. There are non-EX Exeggutors, but the thing about Quick Growth Extract is that it does not guarantee you which Pokemon it's going to pull. So let's just say we are playing, you know, 1 Exeggutor EX and 1 non-EX Exeggutor. If we play Quick Growth Extract, there's no guarantee it's going to pull the correct one out of our deck list. So that's why I'm electing to play only Exeggutor EX, which again is going to be able to guarantee attacking on your second turn, which is crazy. This thing is going to have 190 HP with Leaf Cape, and it's going to be hitting for 40 to 80 damage. I really like it. Now, this is also where we're going to be playing the new Sunflora. Yeah, guys, Sunflora is really not that bad. I talked about it last week. This is basically like baby Exeggutor. It does, it's got 100 HP, also stage 1 here. It does 30 damage, but if Quick Growth Extract is in your discard pile, this attack does 30 more damage. So this is basically a way to kind of split the difference while also not playing an EX card. So we can get around and beat Oricorio pretty easily with Sunflora. Again, we can Leaf Cape, go to 130 HP, which is pretty tanky for a Pokemon like this. And 60 damage is going to be able to guarantee KOs on a lot of basic Pokemon in the game. Things like, you know, Squirtle and Charmander and Swablu and baby Pokemon. Like, Sunflora is going to be a really strong aggressive Pokemon. Again, 1 energy in the attack cost going first means that we can actually attack on our second turn going first before our opponent has the opportunity to evolve. So that's the whole idea here. We're playing double Sunflora, double Exeggutor EX, double Quick Growth Extract, and double Leaf Capes here. Now, we are playing Sabrina, and this is one of the biggest factors. Back in the day when Exeggutor was dominating as an aggro deck, one of the biggest factors for Exeggutor was its ability to kind of just play Sabrina turn 2, and if you're, you know, hoping to let that active Pokemon go down while you set up the bench, no, we're going to Sabrina around that, and we're just going to KO you, right? It's also a way to get around Oricorios that are in the active spot if we lead Exeggutor. So this is just full aggro Exeggutor with Sunflora, right? Double Sabrina, double Sunflora, double Exeggutor, double Quick Growth Extract. Early damage, that's what this deck is really all about, and I think it's underrated. This season doesn't have a ton of aggro decks, but I do think that this deck has some potential, and yet again, just another way to utilize Quick Growth Extract. Now, the main thing about this deck list, though, and this strategy is that you're going to get kind of beat by these late game decks that can kind of set up on you and then sweep through you. And that's what the Celebi's for, realistically, is those Blazikens, is those Charizards, whatever it might be, you know, Altaria. Like, there are definitely scenarios where maybe the aggro strategy it's not able to really win you the game. So if your opponent does set up a strong Pokemon on the back line that we can't KO early on, Celebi will be able to deal with it, which is kind of cool, right? So that's why we're playing 1 Celebi. I actually think Celebi's going to be broken next season. I think it has a lot of potential. I really do. Quick Growth Extract is a really cool card. And again, I love Exeggutor, and to me, it was a kind of apparent. I was like, Sunflora is kind of like Exeggutor. Let's just play both of them in a deck with Quick Growth Extract and be insanely consistent, be insanely aggressive. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. You know, and theoretically, like going Sunflora into Exeggutor, like that's a decent amount of HP, and it's going to be a lot of early damage. It might be kind of difficult to work through that. And if you look at the metagame right now, enough decks have low HP Pokemon, you know, especially things like Altaria. They're playing just like, you know, like all these baby Pokemon and 50 HP Pokemon. So the aggressive damage combined with Sabrina means that we should just be able to take 3 prizes on a bunch of small single prize Pokemon and win the game, especially because Exeggutor is living a hit from Altaria, which is pretty cool. Also, like Absol and Hydreigon, like we're living hits from all of those Pokemon, and they're weak to grass. So like there's a lot of advantages here to these sort of aggro grass archetypes. I actually think the type advantage of grass right now in the metagame allows it to actually be pretty effective as an aggro deck, which is pretty cool. We could play Lissia in this deck just because because we're playing Sunkern and Exeggutor, which also all have 50 HP or less. But I'm just elected to play double Pokeball, double Research, double Sabrina. You don't have to play Copycat or any other consistency cards because Quick Growth Extract is pulling cards out of your deck while also specifically evolving your Pokemon. So that's the other benefit to this card, is that if you have it in your hand, you're basically going a -1 out of your deck list, and it's specifically a Pokemon that we're going to want to use, right? Because that's what evolution Pokemon are. Pokemon we need to evolve. So I really do think Quick Growth Extract is really strong. I'm not going to lie. Everything else in this that was released here, we're not really going to talk about. We are getting a new Ranunculus card. We're getting a new Garbodor card. We don't know what they are yet, so I didn't really want to talk about it. Some people are going to ask me about Ditto. I'm not a huge Ditto believer here. Maybe Ditto's broken. I don't know. I decided not really to talk about it in today's video. And then, of course, Mega Latios and Heliolisk. These aren't two cards that I'm necessarily that excited about. Yeah, we are also getting a Promo Mareep, and we're getting a Spritzy, so we are getting an Aromatisse. But again, I can't really build around those or strategize around them. So this was a bit of a speculation video as well as an early sort of brainstorming video. I like to do stuff like this. I know not maybe everybody is that interested in deck ideas before the set is released, but it's fun, and to me it helps build hype, and it's just something that I like to do here because I like talking about Pokemon Pocket, and I like to be prepared for when the new set comes out to have previously existing strategies, right? But again, we don't know what the full set's going to look like until tonight when the set releases, so you guys are going to want to stay tuned to our next video. The next video we upload on this channel is going to be a full set review, so that's going to give us all of that context. I would heavily recommend that you go and watch that video or tune into the live stream tonight to get sort of a real-time reaction from me, which is going to be fun. But yeah, that's it for today's video. A bit of a longer one. Again, big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and don't forget to go register for the Pocket Mats Pocket Tournament number 13, Crimson Blaze Legal, the first Crimson Blaze tournament, $300 cash, plus some chase cards in the prize pool. It's going to be a big event. Link to register down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. By the way, before we get out of here, don't forget to like and subscribe. 50% of you guys that watch the channel are not subscribed, which is crazy. I'm not going to lie, but also we're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. So go ahead, check to see if you're subscribed. And if not, hit that subscribe button. But anyway, let's wrap it up. 45 minutes today, one of the old classic longer videos. I enjoy doing it, but I'm excited for the set release tonight. Whenever new cards come out, it's always super hype. And I do think the meta will change definitely a little bit. So we'll see how that happens as the time goes on. Comment down below. What are your deck ideas? Some ideas that we didn't talk about in today's video. What do you think about these deck lists? Definitely give me your opinions down in the description below or in the comments below. I would love to hear it. So anyway, let's wrap it up here, guys. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later. And yeah. Bye.